we go, hash include, they're not curly, are they? They're what do you call them? Chevrons. Let's call them chevrons, or angular brackets. You'll also see, if you do searches on the web, this sort of stuff in quotes, hash include. Now, this would be my code.h or something like that, and we'll talk about that later. But the bottom line is that you use these angular brackets or chevrons when you're importing standard stuff that's going to be there because it came with Visual Studio.
Got to check my hair. Let me check my hair real quick. Hey, 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 hey. Let me check my hair real quick. That's right, brother. I'ma check my hair real quick, boo. Yeah, that's right. You better stop playing with me, cuz. I'ma check my hair real quick. Can't play with me, boy. I'ma check my hair all day. Check my hair. I'ma check my hair. I'ma check my hair any which way that I want. I'ma check my hair right here. Hi, my name is Sunny Jim. I'm from the Sunny Jim family. I've lived in Sunny Jim, Sunnyvale for all but 30 years. I'm Sunny Jim family. That's me, bruh. Sunny Jim fam. My name's Sunny Jim.
Basically, and when you write your own code and you include your own code, you're going to use the quotes. All right, so hash include IOStream. Now, having done that, Visual Studio now knows about a whole load more stuff. Let's try print now. We actually get a load of methods that include the word print, all of this stuff. We suddenly get a bewildering amount of stuff, actually, which is pretty cool. So the idea of using library code is that other people have written this code. It's been tried and tested over the years. And we know that it's going to work for us. So if we start trying to do things with strings in a little bit, which are a sequence of characters, for instance, we're not reinventing the wheel. We are using somebody else's library code. I talked about in the previous lecture about a library versus an engine. So we're kind of acting like an engine in that the system is calling this main method, and then all of our lines get executed. But then very quickly, we're turning the tide, and we're saying, actually, we're going to start using libraries. We're going to call out to libraries. All right, so you get the idea, angular braces for the standard stuff. Now, what we're going to need to do is to think about how we're going to access our method that we're going to use to print out to the console, which is cout. If I type cout, it doesn't come up. It's not in the list. Cout is for character output, but it's not there. Now, the reason it's not there is it's wrapped up in something called a namespace. Now, a namespace does pretty much what it says on the tin. It gives names of things a bit of space. So because when you start importing lots of large libraries, it's quite possible there's more than one thing called print, or more than one thing called cout, or more than one thing called whatever. So it's protected behind something called a namespace. So to get to it, we need to know that it's in the standard namespace. Std is short for standard. When we type std, this little icon pops up. Now notice that's a pair of curly braces, and that is an icon to indicate what type of thing we're looking at in the list. There's various other icons, and they are actually listed in your slides towards the end of this section. There's a summary of what all these icons mean. But std is a namespace, and in Xcode that's going to be n for namespace. And the way that you access members of the namespace, it's a general way of accessing members here, is colon. Now we get a list of everything that is in the IOStream library, tagged, if you like, with the standard std namespace. So I got std : cout. That's what I need to print stuff out. So let's do the standard thing at this point. And rather than doing hello world, though, I'm going to go welcome to bulls and cows. Okay? And I'm just going to do that. And remember that all of our statements end with a semicolon. And remember that you always need to match your brackets. Now, the system is doing it for you. It's making sure that you've got as many open brackets and closed brackets, and the same thing happens with quotes. We need as many closed quotes as we have open quotes. All right, so that red is a good sign. It means that it's interpreting this thing here as what we call a string of characters all tied together. And let's just try it. So debug, start without debugging. and we have a error. So what's the error? Now, it's an easy thing to do this is to just try and use cout like this, but actually cout is a slightly strange beast, and it uses something called an overloaded operator. Now we'll actually use those and get into those much later in the course, but what we need to do is to use a double back chevron like that, and that double back chevron says
Of course,
take the value
the
that's
old
here
double
and
back
put it
chevron
to
technique.
the character output to the console.
Why didn't I
Okay?
think about
So
that?
it's cout, double back chevron, and then your string. Let's try again.
Why
I'm
didn't I
just going to go
think
Control F5
about
this
doing
time.
the double back chevron technique?
Fantastic.
Oh,
Welcome to
I
Balls and
know
Cows.
why.
Press any key to
Because I'm
continue.
fucking
That's ugly.
pleb.
It's ugly that it says press any key to continue straight after balls and cows. So the way that we deal with that, there's at least two ways. One is that we go \n. Now the backslash means that, watch out, there's a special character coming, and the special character is a new line. So \n right in there like that will have the effect of putting any other output onto a new line. And this press any key to continue is coming from the system. Okay, that's cool. Another way of doing this would be to come onto a separate line and type
Welcome
STD
to
colon,
balls
colon,
and
colon
cows.
again,
Press
and then
any
put in
key to continue. You do it. You can
\n,
press
a
any
new line.
one. There you
That's the only
go.
way of doing it.
You did
And
it.
if we run it, Control F5, we'll see that has the same effect. So another way to do this is to use end line. Now, if we type ENDL, which you may find with a Google search for end line, it doesn't come up. Why doesn't it come up? Well, it's the same reason cout didn't come up. How do you think we're going to access it? It's hidden in a namespace. Let's try
That shit is hidden in a fucking namespace,
end
bruv.
F. Okay, fantastic. So that is, again, hidden in the standard namespace. Let's run.
And L.
Command F5, and it
That's the
works.
name of it.
All right, that's cool. One more thing to tell you about cout is that you can string these things together. So instead of keep writing
Welcome to
cout
balls
here,
and
you can delete all this
cows.
stuff and do that. So I'm just saying, take the result of this and put it onto the end of this, and then put all of that into cout. Okay, let's run it. And it works. Great. Okay, so now I've got a challenge
That's
for you.
much
I want
more
you to
elegant.
use something to prevent us from having to keep writing std colon colon every time. We're going to actually use a method called using, and the terminology is using space,
drugs.
namespace, space, and then the name of the namespace, which is standard. So we're going to have using namespace standard, okay? And that is going to go up the top here where I've left space.
Whatever you say,
Right,
George.
now, doing that is great, and it means that we can avoid having to write this all the time. There is a disadvantage, and the disadvantage is that if two different libraries contain, or even two different namespaces within this library, remember a library like this can have more than one namespace. If two namespaces both contain cout, and we say using namespace standard, if we start doing that a lot, we run the risk of what we call a namespace clash, which is that this method is defined in multiple places and it's not completely obvious which one we're using. So that's the danger of doing it, and I want you to explain that danger to other people in a minute in the discussions the best you can. But here's your challenge. It's a pretty simple one. I want you to make appropriate use of the using statement. I've told you the syntax. I've showed you the line you need to put it on. I want you to test by removing the std prefixes from your cout and see if it still works. And you can remove the prefix from the end line. And then explain the risk of using a namespace like this in the discussions best you can. I know that you're brand new to this, and who are you to tell other programmers how to use a namespace and what the risks are, but just have a pop at explaining. If you don't want to do that, don't worry, that's a bonus, explaining the risk. The main thing is that you type using namespace standard and you get rid of those prefixes. Let's go.
Wait, what? Man, teach me how to do this.
Let's do that then. Let's watch what happens when we type using.
Okay, using.
That's
what we're doing.
And it's helping us there. std.
Nice.
Okay.
And
then a semicolon on the end. This is a statement. Okay. Now, if we just run right now, you'll notice that it still runs. No problems, not even any warnings.
No
but what we can do is
problemo.
remove the std from both here and from here. This is making our code a lot more readable. In fact, if you're on a new line, you started typing cout, it's now available here. Okay.
I don't even need to do that no more. I just gotta go, bam,
go ahead and run.
cout. fucking
That's
available,
it. Welcome
bruh.
to Bulls and Cows. Press any key to continue.
That's all I gotta do, bruh.
Hi,
Welcome
ladies and
to
gentlemen,
fucking
it's
Bulls
Sam
and Cows.
with a post-video edit, and I'm just wanting to say
Yeah,
a
bro.
little bit more about the namespaces being a risk. So it's not a risk
Okay.
to use namespaces in general. It's very good
Okay.
practice, in fact, to use namespaces. It's only a risk
Okay.
if you are using a namespace, because that can cause the clashes. So if you have multiple namespaces used inside one file, then
I
you
would've
might
never
end up
thunk
with the
it.
case where cout means different things in the different namespaces, and then get a namespace clash.
It's all making
But
sense
if
now.
you are using the standard
If you're
syntax
using.
instead, then you should see no problems like this whatsoever.
So
So,
this guy.
as a recap, we've talked about the fact that hash itself represents a preprocessor directive. It tells the compiler to do something before it even starts compiling the code. We've used hash include, which copies and pastes other code into the top of our file, but we don't see it happen. We talked about the idea of using library code. We've used IOStream because it's full of useful stuff for input and output streaming, funnily enough. We've used chevrons or angular braces for standard libraries, and you would use quotes for files you created yourself. We've noticed the namespace icon in the autocomplete with standard there. We've done a few things with cout as well, actually, which I haven't put on this list. And then we've imported the IOStream library, and we've used the std namespace.
So this guy. We did all those things, huh? I can't believe it. I feel like a goddamn genius.
Welcome to Magic Numbers and Constants. So we're going to talk about what a magic number is, why it's a good idea to avoid them. We're going to use something called const expr, constant expression, and I'll explain how that works, briefly introduce you to coding standards, and then if you want a link, by the way, to the Unreal Engine coding standards, it's in the slides, but also just Google for Unreal Engine coding
Oh
standards.
yeah, man, I'll Google it.
And then we're going to actually use one of these constant expressions for our word
2018.
length. And at the end of it, what will happen is we'll have a bit in our code like this that says word length equals, and whatever we put will be taken through to the code, so that we have a single place in our code where we constantly refer to this word length, but we can change it in just one place.
Are you
okay, cool.
fucking
So let's dive in and make this happen.
Let's.
Okay, so I want to finish introducing this game. So I'm going to say, welcome to Bulls and Cows, a fun word game.
That's right. You know it is.
Fantastic.
Teach me all them variables.
You can put what you like here, but I'm going to say something along the lines of, can you guess the X letter isogram? We'll come back to the X in a minute. I'm thinking of.
Can you guess what Samuel Jackson?
And then maybe a \n this time.
Alright, so we just made this like so much easier to read. Since we declared a namespace, we don't have to do std out anymore. Std cout. Now I can just go straight to the outs. Nah means. Can you guess what ol his name is ol, like ol Sam J is thinking, bitch.
Just to show that you can use either. Okay, so what does that give us? Well,
Can you guess the letter? What old Sam J is thinking? Samuel L. Jackson. Bitch. Can you guess the letter what old Samuel Jackson is thinking, bitch? I bet you can't. I really bet you can't. Shit, I can't. I don't even know what this crazy old motherfucker is thinking. How you gonna know what this crazy old motherfucker is thinking? I wrote the bitch. I wrote the bitch. I don't even know what this old crazy motherfucker is thinking.
Let's run it and see. It's very simple. It just says, can you guess the...
Let's see if you could guess what old Samuel motherfucking Jackson is. Okay. Welcome to Bulls and Cows. Can you guess the letter what old Samuel Jackson is thinking, bitch?
the X letter isogram. Now, X isn't very helpful. It's tempting to come in here and just hard code, because this version of the game is just going to have a single word in the dictionary. Hard code 5
Nobody
or 6,
likes
but I want
that,
alarm bells to
right?
ring in your mind whenever you write a number that's higher than 1. So 0 and 1 can be okay in a program. Anything higher than 1, like 2 and above, generally, unless you're using something literal like Route 66 or an A14, the road name in the UK, unless it's actually kind of literally in the world part of the name of something, try and avoid magic numbers, just numbers that you've plucked out the air and popped into your program, because they can be very hard to change. What we want is a mechanism to change the length of this word anywhere in the program, and that mechanism is going to be using something called a constant expression. Okay, let's try and put my tongue in. CONSTEXPR. That's a constant expression. Now, there's something else called a constant right above it, and we'll talk about those later. But we want to make heavy use in Unreal and C++ of things like constants and constant expressions. Whenever something doesn't change, we're going to use one of these two. For now, we're focused on constant expression. And a constant expression means that this thing can be evaluated right now at compile time. We know the expression from the very beginning. So the syntax is like this. Constant expression, then our name. Now I'm going to give it a name of word length for now. Word underscore length. Underscore's a safe way to separate things. Constant expression, word length. Now you need to immediately, and it's generally a good habit, whenever you declare something like this, when you say I've got a constant expression, it's called word length, let's give it a value, and let's say 5. Oops. Okay. That's great. All right, now, why have I done this all in uppercase, and what is it complaining about? Well, it's complaining because I haven't given it a type. You need to say what the type of this thing is. Constant expression, integer, word length equals 5. A normal declaration would not have this constant expression, but we want constant expression here. So what this is saying is I've got something I'm calling word length. Why all uppercase, by the way? Well, I've looked in Unreal's engine coding standards, and they don't seem to say anything about using constants, so I'm just going to go with all uppercase because it's a pretty common practice. We may change that later once we get in Unreal, but for now, this is representing this thing does not change. It's got a value of 5. It's an integer, which means you can count it on your fingers, basically, if you've got a lot of fingers. And it's a constant expression, so it's going to be determinable right now as soon as I've written the code, and the compiler will be able to know what its value is right at the start. It cannot change once the program is running. All right, that's what constant expression does. And we want to use it here. So I've got a simple challenge for you. I want you to include this constant expression into your code. So I want you to include the word underscore length in the intro text and make sure it prints with spaces properly. You're just going to have to try and work out how that goes in there. It's using only syntax that you've used before. You're going to have to pop the expression word length into your code and maybe adjust things so everything fits on one line. So have a go at that, make a bit of a mess, play with it, see if you can get it printing out using word length so that if you change that word length, the text changes.
Wait, what?
So welcome back. Let's see how I'm going to do that. So when I get to the X in the X letter isogram, I'm going to close my quotes like that, and then I'm going to put another double chevron operator, and then I'm going to use word length. Notice how it populates for me. And I'm actually going to end the line there.
Makes so much sense.
I.e. the statement. And I'm going to go on to a new line because I want to keep my code concise. And then I'm going to start again. All right, now, why does this work? It works because, well, let's see if it does work first, and then I'll talk you through why it works. Well, it doesn't, okay? I've got my spaces wrong. Common error here. So I missed a space here. Now, what's going on? It prints out, can you guess the, and then a space. And then these spaces don't matter because the compiler ignores white space, but it doesn't ignore it when it's inside a quote. So I could get rid of these spaces. I'll do that as an example. Then it puts on the word length, and luckily for us, it converts from this integer thing here into a string. We're kind of taking that for granted, but it naturally does that for us. Then the statement ends, but it comes right along here and does another cout. And because we never ended the line with a new line, we immediately start to print. We put a space, which is the correction I just made, and then we carry on and put another new line. So let's just look at that working. There you go. Welcome to Bulls and Cows. Can you guess the 5-letter isogram? Now, if I change this constant
really
here
fast.
to, say, 9...
I saw what he did, and...
You see it changes, 9.
I think I got it.
Fantastic. A small thing, but you'll see later why this really matters. Because word length is going to be used throughout our code, and there's going to be a load of stuff here, eventually, And we're going to want to refer to word length right down here. And there could be lots of references so that we know if we only ever refer to word length like this, that if we change it, we can always change it in one space. You want to generally strive for having information in one place and one place only. I'm going to put my spaces back in here because they're ignored by the compiler.
Probably take this off,
only
like
spaces within strings like this are actually make any sense.
Makes sense.
Also,
like,
other places that spaces make a difference are like using space namespace. We have to separate out these keywords. I can't just go using namespace. It doesn't know where one word starts and the other finishes, right? But I can go using namespace standard if I really wanted to make my code ugly. I could put all sorts of weird spaces in here and it would still compile, but it would just look really horrible. Generally, never hit the space bar more than once is a good rule of thumb. Okay, so I'm going to tidy up my code and we are done. We have learned a little bit about constant expressions. They're the strongest form of constant in C++, and you want to use it when you can. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the difference between our \end and our endl that we've been using, introducing something called pseudocode programming. We'll tell you why you need to import another library, and we'll be using cin and a variable for input. And finally, we'll be discussing our input bar. We get strange results here.
Welcome to your guest, Donkey Kong. That's some.
Your guess, and it ignores you and goes straight on. So we'll see how to solve all that. Let's dive in and take a look.
Can you guess the 9-letter isogram? The old. Can you guess the letter isogram? I guess that's grammar. Can you guess the 9-letter isogram of what old Samuel L. Jackson is thinking? Bitch. Bitch.
Look. Okie dokie. So before we actually solve this, I just want to tidy up an inconsistency and introduce you to pseudocode programming. Firstly, the inconsistency is that I'm using endl sometimes and \n others. They're almost identical, actually. \n is slightly different in that it doesn't so-called flush the output buffer, but for our purposes, they're identical at the moment. So as it's simpler to type \n when you've already got some quotes open, let's just do that. All right? So that's going to be my convention. If I haven't already got quotes open, then I might use endl. Great. So let's talk about pseudocode programming. What that is it's using English comments to write down what we want to do before we get buried in the details of how we actually do it in a particular language. It's really freeing. It lets you think naturally and at a natural speed. It also raises you to a higher level of abstraction with your thinking so that you don't get lost in the details. So firstly, let's comment what we already have. What we already have here is introduce
I'm thinking
abstractly. And then what we're going to do in future, and we're going to continue using pseudocode programming from now, is we're going to get a guess from the user, or player. It's a player, not a user. And we're going to repeat the guess back to them. It's going to be a way of checking it worked. Great. So that is as simple as that. You just use comments to outline what you plan to do. So if cout is what we use for character output, I wonder what we use for character input. Well, people who create programming languages being as sensible as they are, it's called cin. Now we turn our chevrons round, the operator is just defined in the opposite direction, and then we need to send it somewhere. So where are we going to send it? Well, we need another variable because we don't know until the program runs what the user is going to enter. So we can't use one of these constant expression things. We're going to have to use something called a variable. How do we define a variable?
Variable.
You put the type of it first, and we're going to use something called a string. A string is quite a useful feature in C++, and it is built into the standard namespace. So we don't need the std : but
we don't need STDs for them strings.
So a string, and I'm going to call it guess.
No way, Jose.
Uppercase G. We're going to name all our variables with uppercase letters just because that complies with
the Unreal Coding Standard. For them
and immediately that we bring it into existence, we give it a sensible value. In this case, nothing, because there is no guess value at the moment. Great. So we've defined a placeholder like a...
Can you run that back?
first, and we're going to use something called a string. A string is quite a useful feature in C++, and
gives you
is built into the standard namespace. So we don't need the std::: because of this handy using statement here. So a string, and I'm going to call it guess, and that's going to be with an uppercase G. We're going to name all our variables with uppercase letters just because that complies with the Unreal coding standard. And immediately that we bring it into existence, we give it a sensible value. In this case, nothing, because there is no guess value at the moment. Great, so we've defined a placeholder, like a parking space, for whatever string the user decides to type, and we filled it with nothing to start with. That seems benign, filling it with nothing, but it really is important that you know what value is in your parking space, if you like, all of the time. So this is like assigning somebody a parking space. You want to know what's in it. Okay, so how do we do it? We go cin // which isn't going to work, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Guess. Now this would take whatever's on the input stream, i.e. whatever the user has typed in the console, and put it into guess. It would if we didn't have this horrible error. Now, this error is because we don't have a particular library imported, and that's the string library. If we look up the top, we have IOStream, and through IOStream, we're getting lots of useful stuff. If we were to turn it off by turning it into a comment like this, you would see all sorts of things stop working, like cout will stop working, and string itself will stop working. But unfortunately, IOStream doesn't include all of the information we need to do all of the things we can do with strings. And one of those is to define something called an operator, i.e. this // that tells the compiler what to do in this case. When we have a string on the right and an input stream on the left, it doesn't know what to do. That's what that message is saying. And it'll find out what to do by using the string library.
That was like, I don't know, I might need to see that one again.
String. Oops, with a D.
Alright, so
now, how would you find that out if I didn't just tell you? Well, you could do a Google search for it, and you would probably find a good Stack Exchange article that would pretty quickly tell you that that was a suggestion. But as soon as I put #include string, then this operator error goes away, and we're all good to go. So that's how you do it. I'm actually going to delete that and then put you into a challenge. I'm not going to do...
Did he say that, or did he like not say that but mean that, or did he not mean that at all?
You would probably find a good Stack Exchange article that would pretty the string, find something called an operator, turn it off by turning it into a comment like this. You would see all sorts of... We don't have a particular library imported, and that's the would take
I guess he said
whatever's on the input stream, i.e. whatever the user has typed in the console, and put it into guess. Well, it would if we didn't have this horrible error. Now, this error is because we don't have a particular library imported, and that's the string library. If we look up the top, we have IOStream, and through IOStream, we're getting lots of useful stuff.
I guess he said it
if we were to turn it off by turning it into a comment like this, you would see all sorts of things stop working, like cout will stop working, string itself will stop working. But unfortunately, IOStream doesn't include all of the information we need to do all of the things we can do with strings. And one of those is to define something called an operator, i.e. this // that tells the compiler what to do in this case. When we have a string on the right and an input stream on the left, it doesn't know what to do. That's what that message is saying. And it'll find out what to do by using the string library. So we #include string.
Use this.
Oops, with a D.
Just take one of these right here. I wish I could teach this shit. Just take one of these right here and just use one of these babies. That's all you need.
That was a suggestion. But as soon as I put #include string, then this operator error
Then
goes
you're good
away.
money. I bet you will remember my ass.
So that's how you do it. I'm actually going to delete that and then put you into a challenge.
What the fuck
I'm not going
I
to
say.
the comment though. We leave the comments in.
It's for damn sure. Wait a second. All those things, all these are backwards than each other. So I guess I use this in a string. That's different.
Okay, so here's your challenge.
Alright, hey, take it easy with all them fucking challenges and shit. Alright, bro.
Now, how would you find that out if I didn't just tell you? Well, you could do a Google search for it, and you would probably find a good Stack Exchange article that would pretty quickly tell you that that was a suggestion. But as soon as I put #include string, then this operator error goes away.
Okay, it's not blue for me, but whatever.
So that's how you do it. I'm actually going to delete that and then put you into a challenge. I'm not going to delete the comment. Leave the comments in. Okay, so here's your challenge.
I don't want to.
I want you to take and repeat back the guess. Some of it's repeating what we just did. I want you to ask the user for their guess. Use cin to take the guess on the same line.
All right, bam.
And on the next line,
Done.
repeat back the guess. It's as simple as that. So go ahead, pause the video, have a good play with that, play with the formatting. And I'd like you to take a screenshot of the result, by the way, on your console and paste it into the discussions so that we can see how you've formatted your guess and how you've set up your game. Okay, go for it.
Maybe next time.
Cool, and welcome back. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do exactly what I did before. I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to reiterate. String, guess.
I can't, like...
And I'm going to initialize it to nothing, which is good practice. Great. Okay, so part of getting the guess from the player is going to be asking them, actually, see out.
Gotta ask them?
Enter your guess.
Oh, I see what's going on. I think he wanted us to
colon,
do that
I'm going to put a space and then a semicolon. And then I'm not going to put a new line because I want to ask on the same line. Actually, I'm going to space this out a little bit. So see out, endl. Here's an example where, because I didn't already have quotes open, endl is easier to use. I'm struggling to find my keys. There you go. Poor me, I have to dart between a Mac and a PC all the time.
And, I see what's going on. Like, he is... What is he doing?
Great. So what has this done so far? Hopefully, so far, this has...
That looks right. I like this, though. This is fun. Like, I enjoy doing this, but I just don't know shit.
Nothing. Let's try again. Control F5 is what I'm looking for. Ha, here we go. Enter your guess, and it hasn't asked me for the guess. So that's because I haven't yet come along and done the cin operation. Cin, guess. And that's fine. Let's check that. Hello, great, and we just leave the program because it doesn't tell us to do anything else. I want a space before we leave, by the way, so I'm going to go see out end line as well.
This is fun.
And I'm going to bind it down with the return statement so that we get an extra space right at the bottom here. This is all finesse, but I find it quite important to make these things look right.
So this is just giving me like...
Didn't work. Let's try again. That's because
lines
I hit F5 without the control. If you do that, you'll be going into debugging mode, and that's confusing, and we don't need that right now. Cool, so that's all working. Now what we need to do is repeat the guess back. So we can go see out, and then we can access the value of that variable guess right now. Remember to use your chevrons to the left. And that would be fine, apart from let's be a bit more polite and say what we're saying. Your guess was colon. And then
your guess was...
And we probably do want a end line here. End line, because I haven't already got quotes open. That's how I'm going to do things, just to be consistent. Okay. Your colon. And then more chevrons. And we probably do want a end line here. End line, because I haven't already got quotes open. That's how I'm going to do things, just to be consistent.
I didn't even know you could just put it anywhere, huh? You just fucking stick it anywhere.
And then
you just stick it wherever you want.
And we probably do want a end line here. End line, because I haven't already got quotes open. That's how I'm going to...
This guy's going so fast now, though. It's weird how he, like, changes pace, I guess. Your guess was weird. Bitch, weird. That was wrong. Guess was, and then guess. How do I do that? Guess was. Bitch. I guess. Is that how you do it? You can't have two colons and... Enter your guess, bitch. Your guess was... Bitch. I gotta do like... I know what I gotta do. Bam. Bam. Just like blah, blah, blah. Your guess was... Well, I guess I'm not skilled to do that shit. Enter your guess, bitch. I don't know, man. Guess was... Let's try this. Bitch. Come on, man. Guess was come on, man. That's it. Oh, shit. That was stupid. Your guess was... Bitch. It's funny. I wonder if I could have just did like... If I could have just did this. Let's see. See if it works. I guess was low. Bitch. Alright, that works for me, dude. I could probably just stick this on the end here. Call it a day. See if that works. Let's get elegant as fuck. I don't even know if that's how you spell elegant. Guess was elegant. Ah, bitch. Okay, well, we're keeping them.
Do things just to be consistent. Okay. Your guess was, apart from I missed the A, the S
Your
rather than
guess
was. That's pretty good. Let's try again. Now there's a problem. Let's just check. Problem.
Your guess was bitch,
Great, your guess was
bitch.
problem. Looks all good.
Yeah, you're a bitch.
But what happens if I put donkey space Kong, for example?
Donkey Kong,
your
bitch.
guess was donkey. It only took the first bit off. Right? And worse than that, look what happens here. Now, I don't need you to follow this bit. I'm just going to duplicate all my code for a moment underneath. So I get the guess from the player and repeat it out twice. I'm going to remove this line because I don't want to declare string again. It already exists. String has been brought into existence here. The string guess.
The fuck? When did I do that shit? I'm so confused. Get a guess from the player. Repeat the guess back to them.
We don't need it again. In fact, and repeat. But what happens if I put donkey space Kong, for example? Your guess was donkey. It only took the first bit off. Right? And worse than that, look what happens here. Now, I don't need you to follow this bit. I'm just going to duplicate all my code for a moment underneath. So I get the guess from the player and repeat it out twice. I'm going to remove this line because I don't want to declare string again. It already exists. String has been brought into existence here.
I don't
string
give
guess.
a
We don't need it again. In fact, a good way of seeing where it's used is to click on it there, and it shows it's used here, 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 here. But we don't want to declare it again. That wouldn't make any sense. Okay. Here you go. Enter your guess, donkey, and that's fine. Kong. So that's it going through twice and asking me and repeating back. But what happens if I type Donkey Kong? I get Donkey, and then immediately I get another, your guess was Kong, and it didn't even ask me for my guess here. So what happened? The first cin over here, this one here, that read Donkey, and then stopped when it got to the space by default. And then it printed out Donkey here. And then it said, enter your guess.
Yeah, I get it. It was bad
and
maths.
then cin found that on the input stream, there was still something left, and that was Kong.
Shit, Andy Milnock is playing Detroit Become Human.
That is good flavor. Maybe in a half a year or a year, if I put out some good content for G Fuel, I'll eventually get my own flavor. Who knows? But if I do, I think I kind of want to make like a sour flavor. I want to make some sort of sour flavor. I kind of want to make like a sour, like yuzu. Yuzu is like a Japanese citrus. I want to make like a mandarin orange and yuzu hybrid. Sour mandarin yuzu. The sour cherry is fucking actually bomb. The fucking pecorino flavor. Somebody's been reading my tweets. Turtle fuel. Chili mango flavor.
The fuck?
Okay.
Boogie flavor.
Bulgogi. I want to I'm not even gonna tell you. I want to make. See. A lot of people are super normie with their G Fuel. I want to make some like crazy concoctions, and I have some ideas, but I don't want to spoil it. 'Cause someone might copy me. Isn't this a cool color?
Need food.
I actually really bought this because of the color. That's a sick color. Sour green apple. They already have a sour apple. So should we get into? Oh, by the way, you guys like my shirt? Check it out. Elderberry. What about mulberry? One with the Quran. Why do you read it? It makes you bark. Maybe you just picked it up. Gooseberry. Your teeth are gonna start to vibrate the more you drink. Shut up. Baja Blast. What if I make lean flavored G Fuel? Peach mint. Rate that burp. That was like a 4 out of 10. Lean blue ice. So I got my PS4 hooked up. I was really pissed off because I hooked it up and my fucking Elgato was blinking on and off, and I knew I had that problem in the past, but I didn't remember what it was. So I researched it, and that stupid HDC or whatever the fuck it's called has to be disabled. So I had to like fucking unhook everything, bring it back downstairs, hook it up to my TV.
HTCP, the god.
HTCP, and then I had to fucking uncheck that shit. And then now it seems to be working. We'll see if it lags or anything. But
I wish I had money for Detroit Become
Human. I got my trusty Nintendo Switch up here, and I got my PS4
Rip the dream.
here. So the only thing I don't have upstairs that I could bring.
Alright, fuck it. I'm not watching him anymore. I gotta do some shit. Back to work. Wait till he starts playing the game, and then maybe I'll check him out.
Or probably Space Kong, but it ignored
Back to coding, bitch.
Space. So then it outputted Kong, and the game was over. So this isn't what we want, because if the user, we want the user to be able to put, it's part of our requirements actually, that the user can put anything in, And this is breaking our code. What user is putting in is changing how the code is operating. So we need to take control back of this game. And that's going to be the subject of the next video. So I'm going to leave the code like this, actually, with two sets of enter your guesses. You're welcome to bring your code to this state now. So to be clear, we have the intro at the top there, and then we're getting the guess from the player, repeating it back, getting it from the player, repeating it back. The only line that I haven't copied is this hole here where I've removed string. So do this for yourself. You're welcome to try and run it with your string left.
What do you mean, do it myself? You told me not to do it myself.
Get yourself to this state that you see on the screen. Convince yourself that
Why are you telling me to...
And in the next video, I will talk about a solution.
Why are you telling me to do stuff myself, but you told me not to do it before? Because he wanted us to figure it out.
Welcome to this video on using getLine. So in this video, we're going to recap the problem we're facing. Then we'll talk about why getLine is a useful method here. Then we'll talk about where to find documentation and where to look up solutions to problems, and then we'll solve it. Okay, so as a recap, the problem we've got is that if we put in a multi-word guess, that it is wrongly consuming the text. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? Well, there's a method called getLine. So a word on why getLine is useful here. It will read through any spaces by default, which is useful for us. It will discard the input stream once it reaches the new line character, which is just what we want. When we hit return, we want it to consume all the way up to the enter, the new line, the return, whatever you want to call it, and then discard everything else. And you can read about it by searching for getLine at www.c++.com. How, firstly, would you even find out about something like that for yourself? Before I just present you with a solution, how would you do it? Well, you'd do some Google searches, right? Would be the best starting point. But this actually is a non-obvious solution. If you search for, well, what would you search for? It's always about asking the right question. So, I don't know. You could try something like cin...
Make a little more loot for my...
not working right C++ might be the type of query you might make at this stage, and you see a couple of things, that one there, maybe open the second one. Stack Overflow is a good resource in general, especially highly voted answers that are voted by people with good reputations. So that's one good place to get it from, but sometimes it's just a slightly non-obvious solution and you need to just take a course like this or read a book. Okay, so that's a note on how you do it. So getLine, what is this getLine
Take a
thing?
course like
well,
this
for simplicity, I'm going to delete this duplicate code because I just can't see the wood for the trees like this. This, by the way, is why we don't repeat code.
I'm doing it.
It's really confusing. So I'm going to get rid of the repeat for the moment. We'll put it back to test in a minute. And it's this cin line that needs to change. So I'm going to get rid of it. It doesn't work.
That shit don't
getLine
work.
is the method. As soon as I open the brackets.
All right, this is what I want to do, bro. I want to open those brackets. I want to get right up in the cin. I want to get right C up in that shit. I'm gonna open that shit. I'm gonna get that line. Get right up in between those brackets. Get right up in between them cheeks.
Then I start to get some basic information about how it might work. But this is really hard to read in here. There's lots of different what we call signatures.
Lick my lips a little bit.
Different options for what parameters we pass in. But it's not very easy to read this. So there's a better way of getting the documentation, and that better way is just to type getLine C++. Oh, well, there it is. And you go to c++.com. Make sure you're on C++11. This stuff here, you'll get your eye in for this later, but for right now, your best bet is probably to look at the example code and see if that makes sense. So given this line of example code I've highlighted, you've guessed it, here's my challenge. I want you to fix the input problem. Replace both cin lines, or in this case, we're going to put one back in using this new getLine method, and then we're going to duplicate our code again. And then test that Donkey Kong is accepted as a guess and that you can input a second guess afterwards. So pause the video, see if you can work out how to use cin using that piece of example code. And I will see you when you've had a good go at it.
Just give me the answer, bruv.
Okay, welcome back. So if you look at this example, it's saying std : getLine. Well, we don't need the std, so we can just go getLine.
Give me the answer.
And then it says cin, effectively, if we ignore the std bit, because we're using namespace std.
Just ignore those STDs.
Name is the name of a string variable. So we just need to modify that a bit for our code. So this is how we do it. getLine. Cin is where we're getting it from. Guess is where we're putting it to.
I would have never guessed that shit.
Before we duplicate anything, let's just check that that line works there.
I would have never guessed
run the code. And just put in, say, Donkey Kong. Now, we're not going to know right now, right? Because we haven't asked a second time. So now let's go ahead and duplicate our code again. Now let me show you this error with string, by the way. If you try and compile now, leaving your redeclaration of string here, let's see what happens. It says, would you like to run the last successful build? Well, no, because I don't want, I want to know what's wrong now. What's wrong? Well, look, if we look at the error stream, it's not particularly obvious what's going on. Illegal for class access. At least here, you get guess, redefinition, multiple initialization. So it does tell you a useful error. So we remove that line.
What did I do?
Run our
what
code.
Did you do?
Donkey Kong. I'm missing an N.
Did I even have the error? Probably not.
Oh, your guess was Donkey Kong. Cool. Works. Brilliant. So we've achieved what we wanted to achieve in this video. I'm going to leave 2 sets of input in here like this. I think I'm just going to remove some spaces just so that, because visually this is horrible right now.
Let's see how this works out for me. Welcome to Bulls and Cows. Can you guess the 9-letter isogram of what old Samuel L. Jackson is thinking, bitch? Enter your guess, bitch. Oh, okay. Donkey Kong. Your guess was Donkey Kong, bitch. Okay, thanks.
Now,
Appreciate
repeat the guess back to them. No, you see, I'm trying to group the things by spacing. So let's do that. And then, of course, we're going to sort all this out with functions and stuff in a
Good to get. Why the fuck is this happening so many times? Guess back to them. Okay. I don't know why he needs this twice.
in a moment. Okay,
Why are we
that's how
doing
I'm going to
that
leave my
twice?
code because it's somewhat clearer what's going on. And fantastic. I'll see you in the next video.
What's the difference between the two? That was pretty strange. What the fuck? What the fuck did I just do? What the fuck is this shit? Holy shit, I just got a boner. Oh my goodness gracious. That's how you do it. You just go back, right? Yeah. Damn, that's what happens when you go inside a string. That shit turned me on, bro. Fuck, man. Alrighty then. Moving along. I don't need that. For some reason that I do not remember. We need to duplicate these lines. Enter your guess, bitch. Oh, it's Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong. Your guess was
So
Donkey
what we're
Kong, bitch.
simplifying
Enter your
with
guess,
functions.
bitch. Oh,
in this video, we are going
Donkey
to
Kong.
talk about the fact that programming is all about managing
Guess
complexity.
was Donkey Kong again, bitch.
We want to think about as few things
Alright,
at
I
a
don't
time
even
as
know why I
possible.
need this.
We'll talk about the idea of abstraction and encapsulation. We'll discuss how functions help us simplify things. You'll write and call your own functions.
I
We'll
don't
have a
even know
warning
why I
about the
need the
side effects
second
of
part,
functions, as
you
they're
know.
called.
Andy, what you talking about
My
right
cost out of pocket is going to be a little over $400 a month, and that's for the server and for one extra Verizon router.
Man, what the fuck you talking about, dude?
And why we always use return at the end of your functions. I'm going to let you make a mistake in the first challenge. Although, now I've told you, I've given the game away and you may not make the mistake. Okay, let's dive in and take a look at this. So looking at my code right now, I'm not entirely happy because I'm starting to what I call lose the wood for the trees. There's just too much
Lose the wood for the
stuff on
tree, eh?
screen to look at. So
I'm
we
going
want to start
strong.
managing this complexity. So a word on that firstly.
I don't know what you're
Abstraction
not
and
doing.
encapsulation, big
or
words,
eating.
and you'll see them on smart answers on Stack Overflow. So let me just give you my take on this.
Abstraction.
Firstly, I'd say that a major goal in writing software is to manage complexity. Right? A big piece of software is very complex, and we can only keep a certain number of things in our brain. We want to manage that complexity down. We don't want to be too clever, actually. We want to make sure that a future version of ourselves or somebody else coming on and seeing our code can easily see what's going on. And that's hard, making things that clear and simple.
Abstraction.
So abstraction is a technique for managing complexity, but considering things at a higher level. For example, the lines of code that print the introduction as a whole could be called print introduction. We've kind of got it in the introduce game comments, but we actually want the comments to almost disappear into the code, self-documenting code. So we'll see how that works in a minute. So then encapsulation is a way of making sure your abstractions are adhered to. So concretely, once we've decided that this is the way we introduce the game, we can wrap that functionality off into a function and call that function that'll introduce the game for us. Then there's only one way to introduce the game. We get very consistent behavior. So just to help you get your eye in, I'm going to be using curly braces in a couple of different ways in this video. You're going to see different formats out there on the web, in sample code, in boilerplate code in Unreal, etc. So I want you to be able to tell the difference. I want you to read code like the compiler reads code, which is it doesn't care whether I put my curly brace at the end of the function definition or on a new line after it. So it'll be a little bit interchangeable in this video, and then I will be regularly going through and changing things to adhere to the function, the standard that I'm aiming for, which is where they're on a separate line. So enough talking, let's do it. We've already got the right code highlighted. If I cut that code with Control X, and then I'm going to go and paste it in this new method that we talked about. Now, don't keep things in your copy buffer for too long, so I'd probably paste it straight away and then wrap the code around it, because you could lose it, couldn't you? You can always use Control Z and stuff, you're not amateurs. Anyway, what are we going to call this method? We're introducing the game, so print.
Does that happen?
Intro will do fine.
Does he have some horror stories he wants to tell?
Fantastic. Print intro. So now, curly braces. Need to put one curly brace at the bottom, and then when you do so, it's helpfully indented. But if it hasn't indented for any reason, this is how you want to end up. All right, so that's a function that takes in no parameters and passes nothing back. But even though we're passing nothing back, I still want you to be in the habit at the bottom of saying return. We're not returning anything because it's void, which means that we're returning nothing, but it's a very important habit, otherwise you can start to forget to return things. So what's the point of this print intro? It's to introduce the game. And it's got its word length with it. If you click on that, it shows you where the other instances are. By the way, let's just have a quick check, make sure we haven't used word length anywhere else, because word length is only going to be available now inside print intro. That's actually a good thing. It means the scope, the width of our code within which we can actually use it, is limited to just what we're seeing there, in fact, right inside here. So we create word length there, we use it very, very soon after, and then as soon as we leave this function, it goes what we call out of scope, and it's not available to anything else. In fact, if you come into main here and start trying to type word length, it doesn't come in the autocomplete. All right, that's called scope, and it's a good thing.
Not naming
it's
it
to do with encapsulation. It's making sure we can't get hold of this where we don't need it. Now later we will need to move it to a different scope, but for now this is fine. So print intro. And then in the main, what we do is we just go print intro. Great, let's make sure that works. So we've tidied up the beginning by saying print intro. Look how much tidier main is now. And it works, it prints the intro. Now, there's something else I want to tell you before we move on.
Does
the second part of this is...
Does it? Did it, though?
Let's go print intro. Great, let's make sure that works. So we've tidied up the beginning by saying print intro. Look how much tidier main is now. And it works, it prints the intro.
Welcome to the Bulls. Welcome to Bulls and Cows. A fun word game. Can you guess the 9-letter isogram of what old Samuel L. Jackson is thinking, bitch? Enter your guess, bitch. What? Your guess was what, bitch? Okay. Because it's Samuel Jackson. And that wasn't even a 9-letter word.
Intro. Now, there's something else I want to tell you before we move on. The second part of this is I want to see main. In fact, what is main? Let's comment to say what main is. This is the entry point for our application or something. If you ever feel you need to describe something, do so. I want print intro to be up underneath this. So let's cut it and put it underneath. But we get a problem. Let's try compiling. Control F5. Doesn't work. Identifier not found. on line 11. So line 11 tries to use print intro. It doesn't understand it. What we need to do here is take this part of void print intro, and put it at the top like that with a semicolon. Why a semicolon? Because if we try and put a pair of curly braces, which, by the way, act as another way of completing the statement. Look at main, for example. It doesn't have a semicolon on the end, and neither does print intro. Yeah, but if we try and just leave curly braces, or even curly braces and a semicolon or something, it's going to say, no, it already has a body. So the curly braces are the implementation of this, and we don't want to define the implementation in two places, really important. So we say void print intro rather, with a semicolon on the end, and if we click on it, you can see that it also exists there, and that the
fuck. I want to put it down here for some reason. I don't know why.
implementation is at the bottom. Okay, we want to.
And then up here, okay. I just want to put this right in here.
Keep our main function at the top, because when you first come into this, you want to see, well, what's it doing? Well, this is the entry point for our application, okay. And what else is happening? And then we print an intro. Or how does print intro work? You look down here, it does this stuff. You see how it simplifies? Okay, so let's check it runs. It does. Good.
Wait. What? Alright, enter your guess, bitch. How about bitch? How about that one? Your guess was bitch. Oh, shit.
Good. Okay. Now, next thing, we want to put this stuff here into a method of its own. And guess what? That's going to be a challenge for you. I want you to write string getGuess as a function. Save your code so you can go back in case you mess things up. Write a function to get the guess. Return it as a string at the bottom of the function, and restore your code to its former working glory. Have a go, let yourself struggle with it a bit, but not too much. If it takes you more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that, then watch my solution and don't feel bad.
It's going to take
Otherwise, have a good go, have a look and see if you can do it by pattern matching and just by sheer determination and by checking on the web if you need to. Whatever you need, see if you can get it done. It's a useful problem to be able to solve, and it's using things you've already learned.
Okay, I believe you. Become human, baby.
Can you guys hear me like this, or does it sound like I'm far away? I just hate having this fucking microphone in my face all the time when I'm trying to play a game. Oh, it's good? Okay, perfect. Sweet! You can hear me. Nice. Can't wait to move to Koreatown. You know what? It's such a big thing for me too, because it's like.
Hello. Welcome to the Detroit Experience. I'm an android and I'll be your hostess.
I would totally
Before we begin, let's make some adjustments to optimize your experience. These language settings were detected on your console. Are they correct?
Thank you for the 2 months. Yo, what up, Esco? Yo, look at this game, dude. Have you heard about this? I'm gonna put subtitles on in case there's like any sub notifications if someone misses what people say and shit.
I feel like I have to watch this now. Like at least the first 10 minutes or something.
Fine, or you want it make the camera smaller? Okay.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy.
Oh, you love this game? Nice. I miss you guys. Oh yeah, the camera's so fucking big. Holy shit.
Dude, just make it
The
tiny.
fuck am I? Never mind, I gotta say it.
Font size.
Whoops. Is that good? Whoops. Medium? Okay. You want subtitles medium or large? This is large. This is medium. Middle, right? Okay. Medium. Okay, we do medium. Whoops. I was saying I'd put this shit middle. Okay.
Set it to thick.
How do you... Isn't there a way to crop the, Yo, EXPC, thanks, man. Isn't there a way to crop your video without, like, stretching it? I'm using OBS, yeah. Is there a way to crop the... Hold shift? That doesn't do it. Control. No. That moves the whole thing. It doesn't crop it. Alt. Woo! Someone smart. Ooh, we got a smarty in here. We got a little smarty pants.
That's pretty dope.
Thank you.
Alt shift.
How's that? This is like a movie type thing. I don't want my big fat face in the way. That's kinda good,
What's
right?
up?
Get a green screen? Fuck a green screen. That's too try hard. Okay, let's go. Let's start it out. Start it.
That's too
Start it out. What
true.
am I talking about? Let's start it out, guys. Oh, fuck. No face cam? Yeah, I could do that. For some reason, this chubby motherfucking face, though, since I get so little views when I play games compared to IRL, I need something to get the people to stay, and it's usually this fat fucking jowl. Okay, what happened? I thought I started this.
Green screen suit.
Please adjust your screen settings.
No! Leave me
I
alone!
already did that shit.
Adjust center value until center icon's barely visible. Until the center icon's barely visible.
Just want to see like the very beginning of this game. Like the very beginning.
Thank you. Now select your profile.
Okay.
Maybe I should just kill the stream, eh? Ain't nobody wanna hang out with me. Maybe I'll stream later if I do some more of this. Bye bye.